Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Knicks Daily here. Today we're going to be talking about the final piece that the New York Knicks need to add in order to win a championship this upcoming season, and that's going to be Dwight Howard. Now before you guys race to the comments and make fun of this take, just hear me out, because I'm not asking the Knicks to bring in Dwight as their backup big. Certainly that would be Mitchell Robinson. We've also got Precious Achiuwa. Dwight would be sort of an emergency big that can come in. He's going to be well rested, he's going to be able to rebound, he's going to be able to defend the paint, and of course he's a threat down in the low block. He's a threat to catch lobs. Dwight is still absolutely jacked, he's still absolutely explosive and athletic, and just his overall personality would fit in very well with this team. Guys like Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Karl-Anthony Towns, the newest addition, all of these guys have very funny personalities, and Dwight would fit in perfectly with them. Now my thing is that, which Dwight do you want to talk about? We're not going to talk about the 2017 Dwight that averaged 17 and 13, right? 2 blocks a game. That Dwight is long gone. We're not even going to talk about the Dwight in the bubble where he helped the Lakers win a championship and he was a big time defender against Jokic. Certainly defensively he grabbed every board that came in his vicinity. But let's talk about the last version of Dwight that we saw. This was 2022, which was 2 years ago. It wasn't that long. I mean, it just blows my mind how Dwight is not on an NBA roster right now. And it blows my mind even more that the Knicks haven't at least contacted him, right? Do I think this is going to happen? Absolutely the hell not. But this is something that I've thought about all summer, and even though we're in fall now, I decided I would make a video to see if anybody agrees with me. Because let's talk about that final year of Dwight. So we'll start off in January. So he goes out there, puts up 14 and 14. Half of them were offensive rebounds. That was in an 8-point win over the Sacramento Kings. Fast forward to the next month. Dwight puts up 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 10 minutes. He also scored 24 points on March 23rd against the 76ers. LeBron James was injured. Dwight goes out there, 9 of 14 shooting, 24 points. 3 games later, 9 of 13 shots, en route to 21 points versus the Utah Jazz. So the thing with Dwight is, because of his age, he needs rest. So you're not playing Dwight every single game. You're not playing him even every other game, right? You're going to play Dwight the third or the fourth game, and he's going to go out there and he's going to give you 10 rebounds. He's going to give you 6 to 8 points. He's going to block some shots. He just knows the game and he's reliable. He's a veteran. He's won a championship. At one point, he was a top, like I said, 75 player of all time. Now, did he make the top 75 list? No. But let's be real here. That's absolutely disgraceful. Dwight is without question one of the top bigs to ever play the game. I mean, guys, if you saw him in his prime, you know exactly what I mean. I mean, he was just a force to be reckoned with. If the Knicks are able to sign him, again, Cat would be their center. Mitchell Robinson would be their second center. Precious Achiuwa would probably be their third center. You play the 4-2, and then you would have Dwight. So we're replacing essentially Jericho Sims with Dwight Howard. Now, Sims had a team option coming into the year. We ended up picking it up. But Sims is not the type of guy that we can play in the playoffs. He's not the type of guy that we're going to be starting, because we've already seen there and we realized that his defense is just, it's atrocious, right? It's not great protecting the rim. From an offensive standpoint, Sims, I thought, played pretty well last year. I mean, it was a very small sample size, but again, the numbers don't lie. You know, the Knicks were a good offensive team with Sims out there, but it's the defense that we're worried about, because we don't need offense at our center position outside of Cat. You know, Mitchell Robinson can get offensive rebounds, which is great. That's a big part of our offense. But in terms of a guy posting up or shooting a 3-ball, that's not exactly what we need right now, because we've got Cat, one of the most skilled bigs ever, 40% career 3-point shooter. That's the best in NBA history for a 7-footer on 200 plus attempts. So bringing in Cat, he would be at the back end of our rotation right next to TJ Warren. We now have 2 guys that, if called upon, can help us win a championship. They're not going to help us win every single game, but we're talking about winning a championship, right? If we had a guy like Dwight Howard against Indiana, a guy like TJ Warren against Indiana, we would have been in a much better spot. Now, of course, we don't want to be that banged up again. We want to be healthy. But if it does come to that, or if we just want to give guys a rest, right? Let's say that, let's pull up the next schedule. I'll give you guys an example. So our first game is the 22nd against, this is the preseason. Let's go to regular season. So our first game is the 22nd against Boston, right? So let's just say that, the first 3-4 games, The Knicks, they're going to be playing their guys a lot of minutes. Why? Because Boston, Indiana, Cleveland are all certainly making the playoffs. Miami is always going to be a sneaky team, not only to make the playoffs, but to win the East. We've got Detroit, we've got Houston, and Atlanta the next 3 games, right? And then off of that, we've got Milwaukee, Indiana, Philadelphia. That's the perfect time to unleash a guy like a Dwight Howard against the Pistons, who we're probably going to blow them out. That's just going to give Mitch isn't going to be playing for a while, but it's just going to give guys rest. We don't want Jalen Brunson playing 38 minutes against the Pistons. We don't want Josh Hart playing 42 minutes against the Pistons, because last year that was a very common occurrence because we just didn't have the depth to where we felt confident going to the bench and letting go of our starters. It just wasn't a thing. Now, Tibbs is notorious for that, but obviously it added up. Come playoff time, the Knicks were so banged up to the point where they didn't even have a realistic chance against the Pacers. You can say it went 7 games, that's fine, but the Knicks just should never have been in that series to begin with. They went up 2-0, which is crazy. It's mind-boggling, but there's just some games this year where why not give the guys a rest? Pistons, you're at Houston, at Atlanta, the road game's fine, but like the Knicks don't need to go the kitchen sink to be able to win those games. You want to be well rested coming back on that Friday. Friday night Knicks is the best day of the week, man, against Milwaukee. And then 2 days later, you're at Indiana. 2 days later, you're at Philadelphia. Back-to-back versus Chicago. I mean, again, that Chicago game's another perfect opportunity. Cat's going to be very, very banged up going up against Joel Embiid if he's healthy and out there. Give him a little bit of rest. Go to Dwight, right? Press Achua, give him a lot of minutes. So the more guys we have that are reliable, the better for the Knicks. Because if we go back to our depth chart, and I said this in my last video, we have 10 guys right now that I trust. Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Hart, Cat, McBride, Achua, Mitchell Robinson, Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet. Now Mitch is hurt, so that's 9. KJ Warren, if he makes the roster, that's 10 if he can stay healthy. So we don't have even 10 guys right now that I trust in a big moment, right? And Dwight in the playoffs can be huge for us just because he's been there and he's won. And at the very least, Dwight's a guy who just you throw him in there in an emergency situation, but he also is a veteran that you have in your locker room to help some of these younger guys, right? Because there's a lot of younger guys on this team. I mean, I'm looking at Miles McBride, Tyler Kolek, Hakeem Dadier, Ariel Hukporti. Depending on what the Knicks decide to do with these guys, I'm assuming a lot of G League for them, Kevin McCullough Jr. But just having a very vocal guy who's won an MVP, who's won a championship, who's been one of the more dominant forces ever, I would rather have him on our roster versus a guy like Jericho Sims, because he's a homegrown player. We took him in the 2nd round, but we haven't seen a lot of Jericho Sims. I mean, clearly Tibbs doesn't trust him, and I know Tibbs loves veterans. So I've been thinking about this for months. Yeah, Dwight hasn't played in years. I mean, I'm pretty sure last we heard of him was on Dancing with the Stars. Like, I don't think Dwight's coming back to the NBA, but he's just a guy that I would love to have on the roster. I think he greatly increases our chances to win a championship, man. And let me know your guys' thoughts. Knicks Daily, I'm out. Peace.